Hello and welcome to Connected episode 507. It's made possible by our sponsors, Squarespace, NetSuite, and Fitbod. I am your keynote chairman, Stephen Hackett, and I'm joined by your annual chairman, Myke Hurley.
Hello. There's been a change in the Connected rules. This is a chairman-only podcast now. If you're not a chairman, you don't get to be on the show.
Wow.
So there's no Federico this week. And let's just hope that there's no more benchmen, because otherwise this will just become a solo show for someone.
Yeah, solo cast. No, he's just off this week. That's all.
Yep.
No rule
Send
change.
Federico your favorite chair-related imagery.
Okay. I like that. I like that a lot.
I'm wearing my Tiny Heads tee today.
It's a good t-shirt. We should sell it again.
Well, it's a shame that nobody else agrees. I was thinking about it today. I was thinking about the betrayal and how I feel like I inevitably won the betrayal on the account of the reason that I said we shouldn't have sold the t-shirt was because nobody bought it the first time. And then the second time, it still was not a successful t-shirt in the grand scheme of what our t-shirts have sold previously. No. But it's a good t-shirt. I like it. It's a fantastic design. It's just a shame that people don't agree.
Yeah. Well, you know, sometimes not everything can be a winner.
Maybe it will be like when we die, people will really like, then it will become a thing, you know?
Oh, right.
It's like posthumously, it will become a successful t-shirt.
Could be.
But no one will be able to sell it. So it will just like appear on Redbubble or something.
Oh. That's what I want my legacy to be: stolen IP on Redbubble.
Mm-hmm.
Follow up, Myke. Last time you suggested killing the Today View screen.
Yeah,
a lot of people didn't like that idea. I
don't like this categorization. I didn't suggest killing it. I just my bet is that it will be killed. It's not like I'm like, oh, you should. Well, maybe I said that. But maybe I did say you should get rid of it. But like, whatever, you know, get rid of it. I don't care. Kill it.
A lot of people like it.
But wherever you want.
A lot of people like it.
A lot of people like lots of things.
Wow.
You know, but it doesn't mean we should have them all.
And some people did point out that you can get to it without going to the home screen. And that raised a question for me, because I feel like this started, remember how like fast Touch ID 2 was? And then you just like blow through the lock screen?
Mm-hmm.
And then your notifications were gone forever. I like the Today View. I use it when my phone's unlocked. I don't really use it from the lock screen. What about you? Like for me, looking at my phone and swiping up is like one thing, and I don't really ever deviate from that.
No, I don't use the Today View.
Is there anything in there?
Yeah, I mean, there's widgets in there, but I very seldom use it, because if I truly care about the widgets, I'm going to put them on either my home screen or my second screen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's stuff there. You've just reminded me, by the way, to change a setting on my phone. So I had someone recommend to me a long time ago to disable Control Center if your phone is locked, which is a setting that you can enable. Like, there are a bunch of things that you can enable, like if your phone is locked. So it's in Face ID and passcode. And there's a whole set of things called allow access when locked. Control Center is one of them. Live activities, your favorite assistant. I need to turn off Today View and search from that, and notification center.
That's a good idea.
You shouldn't need it, right? What I will tell you, when you do this, you will realize that sometimes you are using Control Center when your phone is locked, because you'll swipe down and nothing happens.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that is a fine thing to, like, that's a fine price to pay kind of thing.
Okay.
I think. Now, one of the options is Siri, and I don't know if you turn this off, if you can, I guess you can't talk to Siri anymore if your phone is locked. So maybe I wouldn't turn that one off. But
Or maybe that'd be more important if Siri gets better in iOS 18.
Ew. Have you seen, by the way, floating around? I've seen this on Threads. We were talking about Threads in the pre-show. There's like a workaround that people have worked out right now to get the new Siri UI in the current beta. Like, it's buried in there, and you've got to load some software or something. You got to do some weird stuff that I would never do. It kind of feels akin to like jailbreaking, like maybe that kind of idea. But the system is in the betas, but it's like flagged away.
Hmm.
So you can do that. But anyway, yeah, that's a tip that I have is like go into Face ID and passcode and review those things and like think about like if you dropped your phone, what would you not want someone to access? And I think Control Center and the Today View are a couple of things that would be pretty important there, you know?
Yeah. Vince in Discord said, Today View is where the large battery widget lives. That's true. I think that's probably almost universally in there.
All of these things can exist in other places.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be in Today View. That's the point that I'm making. And I just think that as time goes on, they are going to remove that screen. That's kind of what I'm getting at. It just doesn't.
At your behest.
If all it is a place for widgets, you can already put widgets everywhere. So like, why does that need to exist? Like that needed to exist when we had the widgets that couldn't go on the home screen because they couldn't go anywhere else. But now they're gone. Like, at what point do we need this thing called Today View? Nothing else is there. Like, why is it even called Today View? You know what I mean? I just think it's going to go away.
The name is a leftover. I mean, if you remember from the earlier versions of Notification Center, you would have like all Mist and Today. And iOS, like, I don't know, 9, 10, 11 sometime. I do remember it used to, like in written out English, it was like, you have 3 appointments today. The weather is 64 degrees. Like, it was very conversational in text. It was There were some weird ideas in there. So the name, it used to just be a tab in Notification Center, and they sort of kept the name and have remixed it in a bunch of ways. I do like there being a place for widgets that is not on a home screen. Like, I think it's nice to sort of have like, oh, I have these other ones that I don't need all the time, but they're kind of stashed over here, and that I can scroll it so I can have a lot of things in Today View.
The scrolling is a good point. Yeah. All I'm saying is like, look, it doesn't bother me that it's there. I'm not got like a crusade going on. My point is, I just don't think it's long for this world.
Yeah. I could definitely see that being true. We have some more follow up about the Rickies. And this is just like a hodgepodge of things. So
every time we do the Rickies, there's always follow up about the Rickies.
This isn't even all of it. I just picked some of it.
Yeah.
Brendan wrote in, Steven, how does it feel to have guessed the latest Mac OS version would be named after an SUV, but you picked the wrong SUV? So I picked Tahoe, which is a GM SUV here in the States, and then went with Sequoia, which is a Toyota SUV. So I had the right type of car, just the wrong one.
Okay.
I like Sequoia as a name, though. So I know it's hard to spell.
No, I don't like it.
SEQ.
I don't like saying it aloud, and I don't like spelling it because I can't.
Sequoia.
But to be honest, though, I was thinking about this the other day. I cannot remember the name of the current macOS.
Oh, it has gotten way more difficult with the California names.
Yeah. So I feel like the one that I'm currently using, I don't know its name, and so it doesn't matter to me. Is it Sonoma? Okay, It's not Monterey, which is what I thought it was.
It's
when was Monterey?
Let me just read you. Can I just read you the California names?
I would love that. I would love that. Can you read them in a Californian accent, though?
All my accents come out Australian, as we know.
I want you to just give it a go.
What is a Californian accent?
Yo, dude.
Yeah,
you know, one of
that's
those.
Australia.
You gotta do the turtle like Crush from Finding Nemo. Just be him.
Dude, it sounds like you're stoned the whole time. Oh,
yeah, but that works.
That works. Mavericks, Yosemite, El Capitan, Sierra, High Sierra, Mojave, Catalina, Big Sur, Monterey, Ventura, Sonoma, Sequoia.
So okay, Big Sur, and there was one other in there. Ventura. There is no world in which I would remember that they existed. You could have made me sit here for an hour and I would never have remembered those names. I wouldn't. There is absolutely zero chance that I would have remembered either of those.
Yeah. I think it's two things. I've thought a lot about why this is harder. There were fewer cat names and they were less frequent, right? They weren't doing an annual release. So it's like easier to remember jaguar, panther, tiger, leopard, snow leopard, lion, mountain lion. But the California names are annual. And like basically everyone knows what a lion is. A bunch of
you
people
can
didn't know
picture it.
Catalina was a real place. So
And also, like, they would use like the spots of a leopard, right? Like
Yeah.
it was easier to be like, here's this thing, and
Mhm.
like maybe it's easy if you're a Californian. Like maybe it's easier. I don't
if
know.
only we knew some
But I know that
Californians.
if only there are none. There are none. But I struggle with it. Like I like the names. I think they're perfectly fine names, right?
Yeah.
And like
I like the
you know,
naming scheme even. It's just hard to remember.
yeah. It's like I have no criticism over the fact that they do it.
Mhm.
It is more just that I can't ever remember them, and I also think that for macOS, that's actually okay. This would be more of a problem if it was iOS. But I also realized recently that I really struggle, especially around this time of year, to remember the number of my iPhone.
Oh, like the iPhone 15?
Yeah.
Yes, same.
Is it currently 15?
It is.
Okay, I thought it was 14.
On
Like, 'cause
iOS
as well-
18, coming. It's a mess.
That's the thing. But more at this time of year, we're thinking about the next one, and there usually is, as there has been, rumors about the next one.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm already thinking about the iPhone 17, and I haven't even got the 16 yet. So, I also think it doesn't matter. It's just like I have the iPhone Pro Max, and it's the one that is the new one. Like, and
Yeah.
we can all get on board with that.
I do wish for unification across these things because like the version numbers in macOS are completely lost to me now. Like this is macOS 14 Sonoma. Like if someone said macOS 14, I'd be like, I'd have to count on my hand or look it up in Mac Tracker like I'm doing right now.
No, the right move is Samsung. What Samsung does,
Yes.
where they use the year number.
Yep.
That's they crushed it. That's the way to do it. It's just the
Mhm.
year number. That's the way it should be done.
Yeah. Kate in Discord says, I like being on the SE because I don't need to know the numbers. Yeah.
Yeah, because, well, or you can know the numbers, but you've only got to know like 3 of them.
3 of them.
So
Yeah.
it's not so hard.
SE,
You get a really long time to
SE2,
remember them.
SE3. Yeah, it's
You get
great.
a really, really long time.
Uh-huh. Okay, so Myke, not you, wrote in. Okay, so we have this issue where we keep tying in the Rickies, right? And some people have some feedback about that. So Myke wrote in, have you considered adding a 3rd round to the regular picks in the Rickies? Most of the game end with the 3 hosts receiving their regular picks and not their risky. So an extra regular pick may force less Cernit picks in the regular round.
Nope, it won't do it.
It makes it.
It won't do it.
I don't think it would solve the tying issue, and it would make the game
solve
longer.
the problem. We would just tie with 3 points every time instead of 2, because the regular pick rounds, they're relatively easy to get. Like, and 3 picks. It's like, for example, me and Jason, we do like 10 picks in the draft, and like it comes down to 1 point being wrong.
Yeah.
Right. So like, we're clued in enough, and there are enough rumors now that it's fun. The whole point of the risky pick is to stop the tying from happening, but we got too far with it. I am still convinced we are on the right track. We just need a little bit more time. I would expect by I know this sounds so ridiculous, but by the next WWDC, someone will win a Rickies by a score. Like that they will actually do it. Like it won't come down to tie breaking. Because I was really close this last time.
Mm-hmm.
Like very, very close. The closest I feel like I have been in a long time. So I think we're getting there. I think we are
too. Justin wrote in, I've had a potential rule idea. In the event of a tie, what if everyone's name went onto a wheel or into a hat? In Justin's opinion, a 3-way coin flip is weird because it just gives the odd one out a chance to instant victory, which is what happened last time where I won. I don't mind this. I think this is interesting.
No, because if you put everybody's, it's still an instant victory.
But I think what they're saying is because 2 people have to pick one side of a coin and the third person has to pick the other, right? Like it's always a 1-to-2 ratio, and a hat makes it a 1-to-1-to-1. relationship.
No, this doesn't make any sense to me.
Okay.
Because sometimes with the coin flip, we go for another round, which is very fun.
Mm-hmm.
It goes to like a second round. Like all it's doing, like, and also it takes all agency away, right? If it becomes 100% chance, I don't like that.
Yeah.
Like in the scenario we had the coin flip, you at least got to choose if you wanted heads or tails, and so you have agency in your decision.
True.
And I'm thinking about this because if we tried to do this, Federico would be so unhappy all the time because he would just constantly say it was rigged. At least this way with the coin flipping, he has a decision to make, and that decision is made, and he has made it. So that's the end of it.
I will say one of my favorite things just in my entire career is that we have Dice by PCalc as a person in our CMS.
Exactly.
And they're attached as a guest to those episodes.
Also, for me, James has put so much work into that mode.
Yeah.
I could not accept that.
Well, I will say that James has put a Cotton Bureau link to the hat by PCalc. So that's for purchase. We'd have to use a PCalc hat to pick our names out.
No, I don't like this. I like the coin flipping. But I don't want to fix the coin flip. I want to fix getting
the game.
Yes. I want to make it that we don't need it every time, rather than let's improve or change the way that the chance game is played.
Sure. Someone named Jason Snell, that can't be a real name, had some flexi scoring feedback, and basically wanting us to remove correct answers are worth 1 point and there's no penalty for wrong answers. And then we say winner will be judged by the percentage of correct answers. I get what he's saying, but I like that there's no penalty in the game, but there's penalty in real life.
There's no point having that sentence. I think he's right.
We could fix
because it doesn't matter that correct answers are worth 1 point when we only pay attention to the percentage. And also, there is, in fact, a penalty for wrong answers. It's money.
Okay, so I'm in the bill of flexies now.
Well, we can't change it now. You can only make a recommendation because as well, we can't change it without Federico.
Oh, we can't change it without Federico. Okay, so I'm going to copy this.
Well, just make a comment or something. Like we will get to this. I don't know, in September or whatever.
Yeah.
But like the idea of like. It should just say that the winner is judged by the percentage correct.
Possible change. Okay.
The correct answers are worth 1 point and there's no penalties. It's kind of a superfluous statement at this point.
Okay. I've put that in the Bill of Flexies document so we can visit that in the future.
Okay. Luckily, it doesn't change the rules. It just changes the way we describe the game.
Yeah, it's just clarification.
Mm-hmm.
It's just clarification. Well, now we've cleared out the follow-up pipes. We should move on. This episode of Connected is brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one website platform for entrepreneurs to stand out and succeed online. Whether you're just starting out or managing a growing brand, you can stand out with a beautiful website, engage with your audience, and sell anything, products, services, and even the content you create. Because Squarespace has everything you need all in one place and all on your terms. You can integrate flexible payments into their store to make checkout seamless for your customers and powerful. Accept credit cards, PayPal, and Apple Pay, and in eligible countries offer customers the option to buy now and pay later with Afterpay and ClearPay. And their Blueprint AI and SEO tools make it really, really easy to get started. Kickstart or update written content on any website, product description, or email with Squarespace AI, generating instant personalized results that know and show your brand identity. Explain what your site is about, choose your tone, and enter what you need to get short or long-form text. No matter the placement, Squarespace AI makes it easier to go live, stand out, and succeed online. And their new design system, Squarespace Blueprint, makes it really easy to build something beautiful. Choose from professionally curated layout and styling options to build a unique online presence from the ground up, tailored to your brand or business and optimized for every device. I love building on Squarespace and have been doing so for a long time because all these tools are built in and are designed to work seamlessly together. So head on over to squarespace.com to sign up for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/connected to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. That's squarespace.com/connected when you decide to sign up to get 10% off your first purchase and to show your support for Connected. Our thanks to Squarespace for the support of the show and Relay FM. Federico's gone, so I have some headphones to review.
Perfect. Someone's got to do it.
Someone has to do it. This came from both a conversation in real life with some friends and from listener Nathan. Going back a few weeks where I was talking about using a single AirPod while bike riding or walking.
Mm-hmm.
And Nathan and real life friends, Stephen, have you heard of bone conducting headphones? These headphones leave your ears unobstructed so you can hear your surroundings. I have some Shocks open run and wear them whenever I'm walking, running, or riding my bike, and I love them.
Is this the company that used to sponsor ATP?
I think so.
Okay. See, this is interesting because I just recommended that Adina try these too, because sometimes she gets irritated if she wears AirPods for too long, but now she's wearing over-ear Sony headphones, and sometimes when I'm at home, I come up the stairs and she jumps so hard she might hit the ceiling when she's in her office because she can't tell that I'm around.
Yeah.
You've never seen somebody like jump the way that she does. Like her entire body move, it's hilarious, but it makes me feel bad for her heart.
So what you're saying is I need to startle her next time I see her.
You could try. She might punch you, but you could try.
I can outrun her maybe.
Yeah, probably. I'm actually pretty confident you could.
So having taken all this feedback, I ordered a pair of the Shocks Open Run Pro Mini. I don't know off the top of my head the difference between the Pro and the regular ones. The Mini just is about the length of the band that goes around the back of your head, and that's the one that fit me better. So I've had these for, I don't know, about a week now, and have used them on several workouts. And I have some a brief review, if you
just
would.
Real quick before you do say that, before we move on to your specific product, they do like actual like AirPods style versions now,
and I think they're pretty new.
They don't have the band around the middle. It's just like you just put these things on, but these look like they go on your ears more than the other ones do. But interesting.
Yeah, I think those are very new. The Open Fit, I think is what they call those.
Yeah, Open Fit.
And they also have Open Swim, which are
oh my gosh,
waterproof, and those have built-in storage. You can sync music to them because Bluetooth usually doesn't work through water.
How do they stay on your head though?
So they just they go over your ear and they go around the back of your head. I think it'd be okay.
But I feel like swimming, like, would they not get jostled off?
I don't know.
I mean, I'm assuming not, but that's really cool that they have those.
Yeah. And they're like IP68 waterproof rating, and
well,
you'd pretty cool.
You'd certainly hope so. We didn't bother with these ones, gang. We're just seeing how it goes.
Yeah.
Huh.
It's super cool. You can
cool.
sync music to those because if you're chances are your phone's in a locker or something, you don't have it poolside, and even if you did, Bluetooth and water don't really mix. So.
Wow, they also do one with a little microphone.
Mm-hmm. Lots of features.
You can
lots
have
of
a Zoom
options.
call. Yeah, lots of options.
Yeah,
anyway,
you can. That's when you know you're a real professional. You're like taking a conference call. It's like, oh, I'm in the pool. Tell me about the quarterly numbers.
Don't think the pool and those are different products.
Well,
them. I mean, not with that attitude.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that is right. So the Open Run Pros, they go over your ear and they have a little pod that sits in front of your ear, kind of on like your high cheekbone, I guess, like where your jawbone, right in front of your ear. And it vibrates and you can hear what's going on. The effect of this, because I've never used a product like this, but the effect of this is the sound stage to me feels like it's somewhere inside my skull. It's very weird. You don't really notice it listening to podcasts, but listening to music, it takes a little getting used to. It's not bad. It's just different from anything I've tried before. The sound quality is fine. Like these things don't sound incredible, but they're vibrating through your skull and not, directly firing sound into your ear canals. But music is fine. Podcasts are, I think, a little bit. Podcasts are fine. I found that I needed like
I'm sensing a theme here.
it's just. I mean, they don't sound incredible. You're making a trade off for I can hear the world around me, right?
Yeah.
I did feel like I needed to have podcast up louder than the music to make it clear, but both are fine. The call mic quality is not good. Like I called somebody and they said I sounded like I was across the room. So
Does it have a microphone, or is it also using the bones?
it does have a microphone, I think.
Okay, it's clearly you need to get the one with the little expandable microphone.
Yeah. Yeah, dual noise canceling mic for clear calls, but it's just built in somewhere, I guess.
Okay.
And these are IP55 water resistant, which basically means you can like sweat, but you don't want to get the ones that I have, you don't want to get them wet. So
Right.
So yeah, so comfort wise, I wear glasses, and that like I just feel like there's a lot going on over my ears with glasses and these. But that would be true for like what are the Beats that go over your ears? The Beats Fit or
aren't these the ones your wife uses?
yes, but I don't know what they're called.
Okay, because I mean their names are complicated.
Yeah, the Beats branding is hard to keep up with.
Yeah,
but the Beats Sequoia, they are. That's no different than those sorts of headphones, but totally fine. Like once you get used to it, they're pretty lightweight. The frame is made of titanium and like they're kind of plastic and rubbery. So like they're not heavy at all. And you can hear the world around you. And so this is not something that I would wear, if I was like going to sit down and listen to some music. But I think for exercising out in the world, this is a nice alternative. And one thing that I realized after the second or third time I used them was with AirPods, at least, if you get sweaty, like it kind of feels gross after a while. Like maybe this is just me or it's TMI or something, but it's like my ears feel hot. And, this is like, your ears are just open. And it seems also to me, I don't know how true this actually is, but as someone who is very mindful about his hearing, I feel like this is a better alternative than wearing AirPods at a higher volume, right?
Yeah.
So,
but some important follow up: the Open Fit Air, they are not bone conduction.
Oh, they're actual headphones,
but they're open though. Like so, they kind of don't go in. They like go on your ears, and they kind of have a speaker that plays into your ear, but they don't. They're closer to headphones basically.
Okay, that's cool.
So it says Open Fit isn't a bone conduction headphone. It uses direct pitch, a brand new audio experience made for Open Fit. It allows for premium audio quality that perfectly balances blah blah blah. But that's weird to me though. Like you're the bone conduction company and now they're not doing that. But these are still open so you can hear, but I guess it'll probably sound better. I bet it will sound better than the bone conduction stuff, but there you go. Interesting.
Yeah.
So you think cuz you didn't on like up until the very end of your little mini review there, you didn't seem too keen on them, but it sounds like you might use them instead of AirPods now when you're walking around.
I think the trade-off is worth it. I think it's like a standalone in isolation thing. Like this is not something I'm going to use sitting at my desk. But I think on my bike, the trade-offs are probably worth it to be able to hear more clearly around me.
Yeah, especially on the bike. But what about when you're walking?
I think the walking could be like 50-50 AirPods or this.
Okay.
I think both are fine. And especially as I've talked about, I'll just use one and switch it depending on what I'm doing. I could tell you if I were walking like in a city, like downtown Chicago or something, I would wear these way before I ever wore AirPods on like busy city streets. You've been in my neighborhood. Like I live in the middle of the city, but it's a suburban type neighborhood. Walking, I don't ever feel like is a huge safety issue. I'm probably more mindful of it than I need to be, but in a big city or definitely on the bike, I think these are gonna stick around. But they don't sound incredible because they're vibrating your bones.
Feels like maybe more podcast than music would be the goal for the bone conduction ones.
I
Like
think so.
spoken word, maybe better than getting the crunchy mids and the tinny basses and the deep low highs
Mm-hmm.
that you're looking for with music.
Yeah, the response curve and the
Did you consider equalizing the range
yeah.
for the
Well,
best
iOS doesn't have
soundstage?
a bone conduction setting, so who
It's a
knows?
shame. That's a real
It's a shame.
shame. You're gonna lose out on the soundstage.
I will say it using a regular Bluetooth headphones. 'Cause I haven't done that in a long time since AirPods have come out. The AirPods experience is really good. Like you just open them and they work, right? And
Yeah,
there's like you
yeah.
got to turn them on and you got to pair them. And the auto pairing is really fast. And they have their own volume controls separate from the phone, which is like not something AirPods have. I guess AirPods Max do.
Why would you want that?
I think it just gives you a better or a bigger range because you can turn the headphones up and down and then also the phone up and down. Or maybe it's just because these things are universal, right? They work with all phones. Maybe that's more important on the Android side. I'm not sure.
AirPods Max only has its own audio control when it's plugged in via the cable.
Okay.
So when you're connected to an iPhone, it controls the system volume.
Okay. That makes sense. So yeah, not earth shattering in terms of sound quality, but they are for a job, right? I think the job that they do is important. Is that shocking to you?
No, not really. Not really.
This episode of Connected is brought to you by NetSuite. Quick math. The less your business spends on operations, multiple systems, and delivering your product or service, the more margin you have and the more money you get to keep. But with higher expenses on materials, employees, distribution, and borrowing, everything costs more now. So to reduce costs and headaches, smart companies are graduating to NetSuite by Oracle. NetSuite is the #1 cloud financial system, bringing accounting, financial management, inventory, HR, and more into one platform and one source of truth. With NetSuite, you reduce IT costs because NetSuite lives in the cloud with no hardware required and it can be accessed from anywhere. So you cut the cost of maintaining multiple systems because you've got one unified business management suite. You improve efficiency by bringing all your major business processes into one platform, slashing manual tasks and errors. Over 37,000 companies have already made the move, so do the math and see how you'll profit from NetSuite. Having one system is great. Moving data between systems manually is error-prone and time-consuming, so get rid of that with NetSuite. By popular demand, NetSuite has extended its one-of-a-kind flexible financing program for a few more weeks. Head on over to NetSuite, NetSuite, netsuite.com/connected. Our thanks to NetSuite for the support of the show and Relay FM.
The information is reporting that Apple are shifting focus away from a Vision Pro 2 towards a Vision product, a cheaper, lighter, pared down version of a Vision OS headset. Apparently, they are aiming for a $1,500 price tag, which is $2,000 less than the current one. Although they are apparently struggling to decide what exactly gets cut from the experience, with a product kind of aim to be on the market by the end of 2025. What's your take on this? What's your initial feeling on this?
I mean, I think a lot of the Vision Pro's issues in the market are price based. I think a lot of it comes down to that. $3,500 is a lot of money, and that means the user base is small, which means developers have a harder time justifying a big expensive development project to support it. And it means that the media stuff also isn't there because the user base is small. If it is cheaper, more people will use it. And that doesn't fix all of the Vision Pro's issues, but it sure seems like it's like the top of the list. And so I think if Apple can remix this product into something that is noticeably more affordable, it is good for everybody. Good for Apple, good for users, good for developers.
I agree with your statement, but I still think 1,500 is the same problem. I do not feel like a $1,500 price tag is going to result in materially different sales to 3,500 in a way that would make the platform significantly more successful.
I mean, $2,000 less. I mean, yes, 1,500 is still expensive, but
That's my point.
But that's
Yeah, but
it's MacBook, iPad Pro territory, not 16-inch MacBook Pro territory.
right. But the price to make a difference is $500. That's the point. Like, if they can't get this product down to the price of a Quest, it won't work.
Maybe.
I just feel like I am very aware of the fact that $1,500 is $2,000 less than $3,500, right? Like,
Yeah.
I know that, obviously, but I just
Math
don't
notes told me right here.
I just don't think that the amount of people that are like, oh man, I would buy it if only it was 1,500 would be high enough to give them the critical mass that they want. Like, that's the problem, right? The problem is there aren't a lot of apps and excitement about this thing because they can't sell enough of them. And I personally am not convinced that $1,500 is that tipping point.
It may not be.
Because that's still a lot of money. Like, that's more than an iPhone.
Well, not that much more than an iPhone.
But it's still more than an iPhone. And you know what iPhones have? Apps. Like, it's more than an iPad, right?
Yeah.
Like, iPads have apps, right? I just think that this is great. Like, get it down, but that can't. My feeling is, don't expect that a $1,500 version of a Vision headset is going to be the thing that saves Vision, quote unquote, saves Vision OS, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's my read on it. Anyway, I just don't think that $1,500 in that market is low enough.
It may not be. To me, though, like looking at the Vision Pro, trying to figure out where $2,000, or to your point, I guess $3,000 worth of stuff is to take out is hard to work out for me. Like, I think there's some things we could talk about. Like, can they make it out of cheaper material that would also be lighter? That would be great. But
how much is aluminium and glass? Like, how much money does that cost? Does it cost $1,000? I don't think so.
Well, the other thing is, if they get rid of the eyesight feature, which I think they would, because like I don't think that's meaningful in the way Apple thinks it is, then you don't need glass on the front. You don't need the screen in the front. You don't need the processing for all that stuff. So I don't know.
I think that there's a good replacement for that, which is like a similar kind of display that's on the HomePod, which is clearly like a low quality display.
Yeah, but it looks cool.
I think that they will, and I think should, continue to have something on the front of the Vision headset which indicates that somebody is aware of you, and that could just be color, right? Like that. There's no if someone's gone through the breakthrough thing where it currently shows your eyes, maybe it shows that kind of like gradient color thing that's on the product anyway when it's in use, like when someone's in like full immersion. Like, maybe it could do that, or maybe they could just use Apple Intelligence to create some fake eyes that are just like that. But I think the whole lenticular thing, that's all not needed, right? Like, because and I think it worked if it worked better. It doesn't work well enough, right? Like that effect is not good enough to justify its inclusion. When that effect could have been good enough, I would have said, like, yeah, it makes sense. Because I actually really like the idea of, like, the theory of it, right? Which is allowing people to still communicate with you in a way that feels somewhat natural if it worked well, right? But I don't think it works well enough to justify its inclusion. But something to indicate that's easy, right? Get rid of that. what change the materials, but I think that if they do anything that cuts down on the sensors and the visual fidelity inside the headset, that's a massive mistake for me. I think the experience of using the Vision Pro is kind of all it is. Like when you use one, you're like, wow, that is so much better than anything else. And if they change that, they can't compete because the Quest is so close and it's so much cheaper. And what makes the Quest close is like they have versions of all of these things, right? They're just not as high powered. But then it also has so many games and so many apps, which Apple doesn't have. So I think once you stack them up against each other, if you reduce the quality of the experience, I think that they fall down a little bit. Like if it's lower resolution and the sensors aren't as good, I mean, then what do you have? Like, what's left?
Yeah.
So it's complicated. It's a very complicated thing to do with.
It is complicated. I think something else Apple has going for them, it's not the $3,000 worth of price maybe they need to find, but technology generally does get cheaper over time. And that in the long term will benefit them. That doesn't help them in the next year or so, probably that much. Especially when you're looking at, okay, well, the thing has the M2. Is that good enough? Like one thing that's coming with the with Sequoia and Vision OS 2, the like ultra widescreen Mac pass through, a lot of that processing is going to take place on the Mac because I assume the Vision Pro can't do it fast enough. It's like, okay, like even though you've got to move the ball forward, some things will get cheaper. You can remove some things, you can change some things about the design, and maybe all of that stuff adds up to where they can get it down. I guess it's not surprising that they would want to do that, right? And I think this story, a lot of people were like, "Oh gosh, they're not doing Vision Pro 2." Like, well, no, I think the Vision Pro is just going to hang out for a long time. I don't think this product was ever going to be anything in the near future that was an annual cycle type thing. And if they do an Air or whatever they call it that's less expensive and cut down in some way, then the Pro's hanging out there is the nice one. And then maybe they merge in the future, maybe they don't. I don't know if Apple even knows that yet, right? Like, is this going to be a 2-tier platform? Or does Apple look at what they're able to do at a lower cost and say, you know what, this is actually good enough? And the market may say the same thing.
I mean, I will say, as somebody who bought one of these things, the idea that it would stick around for a few years is fantastic.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm happy about that. Like, if the Vision Pro is just like here for like 3 years, 4 years, like that would be wonderful. And the thing about getting cheaper over time, my understanding of how this works is part of it is because of volume.
That does help. Yeah.
And well, they're not doing volume. So like, I'm not sure how the technology for the Vision headsets get cheaper over time based on everything I think I know about the way that technology gets cheaper.
Yeah. Well, like right now it's a dual processor system, right? You have the M2 and is it the R1? The
R1, yeah.
You know, is there a world, I just don't know. Is there a world where M5, M6, M7 comes down the line and they bring in what the R1 does into that chip? Like I guarantee you going from a dual processor to a single processor system would bring the cost down. Now, does that make sense for Apple and Apple Silicon and their time frames? Like who knows?
But here's a question I have for you because I don't understand how these things work. All right, so let's imagine that you put what's in the R chip into the M chip. Does that not make the M chip more expensive?
It may, but does it offset having two? Like we just don't know, right? These are all.
But then doesn't it
possibilities.
Doesn't that potentially increase the cost of every M chip they make in all of their products, and it's wasted because only the Vision Pro uses the stuff that's in the R, but yet you're putting them into iPads.
Well, you could say that about the M4 and the iPad Pro, right? Like, hey-o.
Well, I don't know. Safari snappy. I will say, like, genuinely, like, that iPad feels powerful when I use it.
It
like,
does.
It feels like it's, like, steaming through everything I throw at it.
It's
like,
swole. It's a swole iPad.
It really, like, you know, I know that there's not necessarily a lot of things to do with it, but, like, it does feel like stuff is happening fast on them
Mm-hmm.
on that product. And maybe with Apple, like the Apple Intelligence stuff will be really quick on it, you know? I
Yeah.
don't see why it wouldn't be. All that stuff's being, if a lot of it's happening on device, I feel like the faster your processor,
Sure.
the better you'll experience that. So
Yeah. I mean, these are all open-ended questions, right? That we don't know the answers to. But I think our big point is there's lots of things about the Vision Pro that seem like they could be simplified or change over time. I think when they designed this product, clearly it is at the edge of what's doable for them in terms of technology, right? Like the Vision Pro feels like it feels very solid. Like don't hear what I'm not saying, but you get the sense that it can't do much more than it's doing, if that makes sense. And
you know what? Actually, I will agree with you in the sense of how often I'm doing the things that it should be doing, and my eyes are getting a nice little breeze. Right? Like I'm just in an environment with 4 apps open, and like it's fine, but you know the fan is going.
Right.
Like
or it's warm when you
on
take
the
it
apps
off.
that you're using.
You know?
Yeah.
Like it's the thing is working
Which
hard.
is fine. Like it's doing its job, but it is doing some incredibly complicated. It's doing probably the most complicated computer I have ever used for like what it is doing.
Yeah.
Just to exist, like it's idling must be madness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's never really idling, right? It's always doing pass through and all these things.
Yeah, like just its base level of compute has got to be higher than my Mac. Like just what it is looking for and handling at any moment. Then, maybe as Vision OS gets better, they won't need so much power, right? And like, cause as well, like I think I heard someone say this at some point, like the more data they gather from the sensors, potentially they need less sensors in the future because they can build better models for detecting
interesting.
The pinches and stuff like that, which would make sense, right? That like over time, the more data you have, maybe the less hard you need to look for for each gesture. And look, I'm just gonna say again, like I am a big fan of the Vision Pro. I was using the Vision Pro for like an hour today. I was watching a Skillshare course and taking notes on it, and it was fantastic. I'm watching Aaron Draplin's Skillshare courses, by the way. Which
oh man,
so good. There was a video. I'm going to put it in the show notes that they put on their YouTube channel of him giving a tour of his office.
I know what I'm doing this afternoon.
Yeah, and it's a fantastic video. And then it made me think it was perfect, really, because they did exactly what it was supposed to do. Right? I watched the video and I was like, maybe I should see what those courses are about. And so here I am. I'm on the free trial for Skillshare right now.
There you go.
But so yeah, it's really good. It's a very good video. I'll put it in the show notes. It's definitely worth watching. And so then I was like watching. I was taking some notes and stuff. And I was like, this is great. Like there was a huge video screen, huge note screen, and I was just rocking and rolling, But I will say again, it's like, oh man, sometimes using the compatible apps with eye tracking is so complicated and difficult sometimes. Like I don't know what it is that's making that happen, but I'm using like Vision OS apps, no problem. But I was using Notion, and it's like trying to get it to select the thing that I'm looking at. It's like so complicated. But I have the same problem with like Todoist as well. Like I have to use the trackpad for those. Which is fine, but I wished that wasn't the case. But I'm just assuming it is it's like just either something to do with the translation, or that maybe there needs to be a little bit more of a gap. Maybe you can tell me, actually. Maybe there needs to be more of a gap between elements. Do you have any sense for this?
I think a lot of it is that the targets are too close together.
Right.
Because it's based for, it's based for touch or a cursor. And using the trackpad does basically solve it.
Yeah, because then it becomes a cursor. But it's in a way that if you were making a Vision OS app, you would maybe give a little bit more spacing between certain elements. I think that might be the issue. That makes sense. But yeah, I mean, like I was sitting there today and was like, this is the best way for me to do what I'm doing right now. Is how I felt. Like and I really enjoy the things that I do on the Vision Pro. But the Apple is in like, they're not even in like a chicken and egg situation. It's like they have a box of eggs and a hut of chickens, because it's like they need to sell more devices to entice more developers, but they also need to entice more developers to sell more devices.
Yeah.
But they also need to make the technology cheaper so they can make different versions and make the price cheaper. But I think they need to sell more units to make the technology cheaper. So, like,
yeah,
there's so many problems with this device. I think really only Apple can fix it, because the way you fix something like this is patience and money.
Yep.
And the money gives them patience. So they can just wait it out but they got to commit at the same time. Like, you can't just be like, we just won't bother. You can't tvOS this, right? You've got to like, right? Because they put a lot of effort into the Apple TV, and then they just stopped.
Yep.
And the Apple TV is fine. It's like fine, but it could be so much more. But it's just whatever. It's just out there. They can't do that to the Vision Pro, I think, if they want it to be successful. And I think they have the opportunity to make it successful, but it's just going to take a lot of effort. But I also don't know if they're willing to put all that effort in.
Yeah, I mean, it is a multifaceted situation for them, and I think Apple's still very dedicated to the platform. I mean, if you look through the WWDC sessions, there's a ton of stuff in there for Vision OS for developers and designers. Like, they are still very much engaged with this. Look, we're only 6 months in. Like, it's premature to call anything dead after 6 months, and we're not saying that it is. Apple's investing, but I do think the cost, bring that down. I think it's as close to a magic bullet for this as anything.
I agree.
Speaking of cost, Myke, I have a quiz for you.
Yeah, fantastic.
Which Mac is right for you?
I would like us to both take this quiz together.
Yes.
So what is this? Is this just like on the like buy a Mac page on apple.com?
Yeah. It's if you go to apple.com/Mac, there's a link to it. Yeah. Help me choose. And then it goes to this quiz.
All right. So first question, tell us, what will you use your Mac for? And the options are essentials, everyday stuff, and entertainment. I like stuff, as the word there. Work, powering my profession. Education, taking my studies further. And creative hobbies, making and creating away from work. I think for me, it is essentials and work.
I think essentials, work, and creative hobbies for me.
See, but this is okay. So I was stuck on this, right? So creative hobbies, making and creating away from work. Like, is there any creating that you do that isn't work?
I mean, I'd like to think that I go out and take pictures sometimes that aren't old Macs.
See, I would use iOS apps for these things, right? Like, for me, like I like to take pictures of photos. Pictures of photos. I like to take pictures of buildings and just crank the saturation up and add in some film grain. Like, that's my thing. But I don't do that on my Mac. All right. Okay. Question 2. What are your day-to-day essentials? And there's a long list here. Oh no, it looks like it's a long list.
Well, the list scrolls, which I didn't realize the first time I did this.
How does it scroll? I can't scroll it.
I mean, you scroll, like, you just scroll down. It's like it scrolls within the web page. It's really bad. It's like an iframe they jammed in here.
I can't get it to scroll.
Are you on the Mac?
Yeah.
Huh. You scroll like when you're on the gray background, because it cuts off after streaming movies and music, but there's more under there.
It's not scrolling.
What, do you have content blockers turned on?
I do.
Yeah, I would turn that off.
But I've whitelisted apple.com.
I don't know.
See if that does it. Hold on.
Well, you're gonna end up with a Mac Mini, and it's gonna be this website's fault.
I know, it's gonna be sad. Yeah, now it works.
Okay. So, day-to-day essentials. I'll read them, and then we say yes or no. Okay.
I just want to stay for the record, so I get myself on record. I actually don't block ads. I block things like this.
Yeah.
That's what I don't have ad blocking turned on for any website. I block like pop-ups and
Comments.
weird things and like autoplay videos and comments. I actually do block comments.
Yeah, me too.
So that's what I do. I also block. The main reason that I use an ad blocker or like a blocker is I wanted to block myself from going to websites that made me feel bad.
Okay.
So it stops me.
Like the bank.
So like certain subreddits more than anything else.
Like
all right, so carrying on.
r/Linus Tech Tips. You don't want to go there?
Yeah. No, there's no comments. All right. But it's just that thing of like I go to a subreddit and then the thing pops up and I'm like, oh yeah, don't go there.
Yeah.
All right, so what are your day-to-day essentials?
I do browse online.
I do browse online.
Who doesn't really at this point?
I don't know, man.
Social media.
Yep.
Emails.
Yep. Video chatting. Yeah, I guess.
On a Mac? Yeah, I guess. Some.
That's
I
where
guess
I
for
do
work.
all of my Zoom calls. What
I
are
gotta
you
say for
talking
work.
about?
Yes.
Yeah. Streaming movies and music.
YouTube counts, I guess.
Yeah. I always forget YouTube, but yes, all the time. Gaming.
No one does that on the Mac.
Multitasking across apps.
I do that.
I have been known to do it. And other. I don't know what it will be, but there's definitely something in here that they haven't told me.
I have a question. What Mac does it recommend if you don't multitask? Is you just get an iPad? What Mac is right for me? The iPad 10th generation.
I guess at that point, you're just going to be told MacBook Air, right? Like I feel like if you don't multitask, it's just going to tell you get a MacBook Air, like always. Okay. So moving on. So, I haven't done this yet, and don't answer my question yet, but the thing I'm really intrigued about is if they actually ask me any form factor questions. Like, at the moment, I'm getting the sense it's just going to ask me what I do on my Mac, but like, is it like, it can't just tell me like, oh, get a Mac Studio. Like, that's not, we'll find out. We'll find out.
We'll see.
What sort of things do you do at work? Creating documents? Yes. Planning? Organizing? I have been known to do both.
That's a comma splice apple. Come on.
I'm going to say yes for design, even though I like the iPad more for that, but I deal with like PDFs and stuff. And Photoshop files. Yeah. Photography and image editing. No, not for me.
I do, yes.
Audio production. Yay!
Yes.
Come on. Let's go.
Video
I'm happy
production.
that they even had it there. Video production? I mean, if I do any.
It's on the Mac. Sure.
Yeah.
What about coding computing?
I mean, I do computing.
Me too.
I mean, what does that mean? What is computing?
I don't know. I'm going to say yes.
I mean, I guess I do some computing. 3D design, no. Other?
Yes.
Is there any more? I'm going to say yeah for other.
Yeah.
Because you know what isn't here, Stephen? Blogging. There's no blogging on there.
Yeah. Well, that's creating documents.
Is it?
It's audio production. You're screaming into the void.
Sure. You know? Almost finished. Final three questions.
You check coding computing? Interesting.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I have Xcode installed.
Okay. And where will you use your Mac?
Oh, I got a different question next.
Oh.
I got, how do you get creative outside of work? Oh, because I told it I do stuff outside of work. Okay.
Yeah.
Editing photos outside of work. Editing photos. I think that's basically it. The other options are creating content. That's work. Designing, sketching. I don't do that for fun. Coding, I don't do that for fun. Making music, I don't do that. Making videos, they're for work. I'm going to say editing photos and other. Press OK. Okay, now almost finished. Final three questions. Where will you use your Mac?
I don't like this question. I don't like it. It's always in a fixed place like my desk or around my home out and about on long journeys.
This is the do we give you a desktop or a laptop question.
See, I don't like this question because the answer is yes to both of them.
Right.
Okay, I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this quiz now as if it is actually the next Mac that I want to buy.
Okay.
And if I'm answering it for that, it's always in a fixed place.
Yeah, because you're looking for a desktop next. Well, I have given up the desktop life and I'm using laptops now. And so I'm going to say around my home and out and about.
Yeah, but you see, there is no answer for like at work here, which is weird.
Yeah.
It's either at your home or out and about.
Yeah. This is a little
That's weird.
ham-fisted.
This is a weird. They've gone weird here. All right. So okay. So what comes next? Will you plug in any of the following? Do you get that too?
Yes.
Yes.
Displays. Yes.
External storage. Yes. Media equipment, including microphones. Little microphone. Yes,
Yeah.
I do that. Other accessories? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Lastly, do you have a budget in mind?
Ooh. Wow, this is really finely cut. So I see up to 1,000, up to 1,250, up to 1,500, up to 2,000, up to 2,500, up to 3,000, up to 3,500, 3,500 and over. I wonder what my current MacBook Pro costs.
Asking me a budget is weird because I don't know what I want yet.
Yeah, but I think a lot of people have a hard number when they go shopping for these sorts of things.
But I could imagine that it's like the Mac is $3,000 or it's like 3,100 if I add more RAM, and then I'd be like, oh, I'll get more RAM.
Yeah, maybe.
But I'm gonna say up to $3,000. That's what I'm gonna say. I don't think I would want to spend more than that. But I also have not priced out my ideal Mac Studio yet, so I have absolutely no idea.
I was trying to see how much I spent on my current MacBook Pro because it has the 8 terabytes, and that really made it expensive.
$1 million.
Yeah, probably. I'm trying to find it in my email.
Genuinely, you should just pick 3,500 and over. You should just do that. You should just do that because let's be honest about what that computer probably cost you, and it was probably over $3,500.
It probably was. Okay, I'll click that. Okay.
I'm gonna do up to 3,000.
Finding your perfect matches.
My perfect matches.
Is this what Hinge is like? Okay.
Mac Studio. Oh, it also did offer me a MacBook Pro though.
I got 2 16-inch MacBook Pro configurations.
Okay.
One M3 Max, 48 gigabytes of memory, 1 terabyte SSD, and then the same thing but with 36 gigabytes of memory. So $4,000 or $3,500.
So for up to $3,000, I got my top choice is a Mac Studio with an M2 Max with 32 gigs of memory and 512 gigabyte SSD. That doesn't seem right.
No,
because it's only $2,000. Surely I could have increased the storage space. Where's that other $1,000 gonna go?
I don't know.
That's weird. I'm gonna come back to that in a second. Then I got MacBook Pro, M3 Pro with 36 gigs of memory and 512 gigabytes SSD for $2,900.
The 14-inch
or 16-inch. Well, I said it was at my desk, right? So they're giving me maximum power.
I guess so,
with a little bit of flexibility, which makes sense. Or if I have a flexible budget for $3,500, I could get an M3 Max with 36 gigs of memory and a terabyte SSD. So I'm going to the Mac Studio now, and it says, so I got like M2 Max, 32 gigs of memory. Yeah, see, I could put like 2 terabytes more storage in here, and I'm still under the $3,000 budget. Okay.
Weird.
This is cool, though. I like this. I do like this. But I think what I would do is probably the base M2 Max, which would be an M4 Max, which is 12-core CPU, 30-core GPU, 16-core neural engine, 64 gigabytes of RAM, 2 terabytes SSD, and then I'm bang on the $3,000. So come on, Apple, you could price me up a little bit. You gave me a $1,000 discount. But also, 512 gigabyte SSD is just not enough.
No, it's not.
It really isn't. And so it's very weird that they would suggest that when I have a $1,000 headroom budget-wise. But this is cool, though. I like this. I think that this is really good, considering how many Macs there are and how complicated I think the Mac lineup is to somebody who's new. Like, what do you go for, you know?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I saw a lot of people talking about this and saying that no matter what they did, they could not get a Mac Pro.
I tried that. I tried it last night, and it would not recommend the Mac Pro to me. And I owned one.
But there's a really good reason for this.
It's not a very good computer anymore.
It's not for anyone.
No.
What you want is a Mac Studio. They already make it.
I mean, if there was a question, do you need wheels on your computer?
Yeah. Do you need extra space in your computer that you can't put anything in? Because, oh boy, do we have the computer for you.
Do we ever?
Would you like the idea that you could possibly use graphics cards that we don't support? Have I got the computer just for you? Would you like to rack mount your computer?
I would.
Then again, I have the computer just for you.
You know how sick it would be to have a rack under my desk with a Mac Pro in there sideways?
You know what, Steven? It would be sick. You should do that.
It would be sick. Well, the website didn't offer it to me.
There is nothing in the world that I would love more than a scenario in which we take that quiz and then you spend $7,500 on a rack mounted Mac Pro.
You know, I'm going to build a rack mounted Mac Pro real quick. Let's see.
That starts at $7,500.
God.
I didn't pull that number out of nowhere.
All right.
So $7,500. That's with a 24-core CPU, 60-core GPU, 32-core neural engine. You don't need to increase that, right?
No.
64 gigs of memory. Do you want more than that?
I'm going to go to 128.
Okay. And then 8 terabyte SSD.
I would like I would like the trackpad.
Okay.
I don't need any pre-installed software. This computer is $10,549.
Wonderful.
Holy smokes.
And then you just got to buy a rack. How much could a rack be?
I mean, after 10 grand.
Yeah, it's a steal.
It's a steal.
We could put it into an IKEA Kallax. I mean, like, it looks like a similar shelving system.
Do you know how heavy the Mac Pro is? I think it would collapse.
Just put it in a small Kallax right at the bottom so it doesn't tip over.
I tell you what I would do, Myke. I would make sure that Kallax was screwed into the wall for safety.
I don't think you'd need to worry about it.
Unlike some people.
It's so heavy that... Yeah, I was thinking about you when I was building this Kallax because I can't screw it into the wall.
Oh, yeah, you've one behind you now, right?
Yeah, there's no wall behind that, so there's nothing to screw it to. And I was thinking about you.
Apple calls it the Mac Pro Rack. I hate that name.
Yeah, they should call it the Rack Pro.
The Rack Pro.
It's sitting right there, like.
Well, literally.
But where does it say that? Because I just see Mac Pro
in the title of the tab.
Oh yeah, rack pound.
Yeah, because I put it in the show notes and it pulled it.
Mac Pro Rack.
Mac Pro.
Buy Mac Pro Rack. Buy Mac Pro Rack.
Rack power users.
Buy Mac Pro Rack.
This episode of Connected is brought to you by Fitbod. When you want to change your fitness level, it can be hard to know where to start. And that's why Fitbod is so awesome. It's an easy and affordable way to build a fitness plan that's just for you. Look, everyone's fitness path is different, which is why Fitbod uses data to make sure they customize things exactly to suit you, adapting as you improve so each workout will be challenging, pushing you to make the progress that you want. Superior results are achieved when a workout program is tailored to your body, experience, environment, and goals, which are all stored in your Fitbod gym profile. Fitbod tracks your muscle recovery so you can avoid burnout and keep up your momentum. And it builds your best possible workout by combining AI with exercise science. They've analyzed billions of data points that have been fine-tuned by certified personal trainers. And you can be sure you're learning the new movements the right way thanks to more than 1,000 demonstration videos, which is one of my favorite things about Fitbod. Muscles improve when working in concert with the entire muscular system. So overworking some while underworking others can negatively impact your results. That's why Fitbod tracks muscle fatigue and recovery to design a well-balanced workout routine, which also means you'll never get bored, as the app mixes up your workouts with new exercises, rep schemes, supersets, and circuits over time. And it's really easy to use. You can stay informed with progress tracking charts, weekly reports, and sharing cards, letting you keep track of your achievements and personal bests and then share them with friends and family. And Fitbod integrates with your Apple Watch, Wear OS smartwatch, and apps like Strava, Fitbit, and Apple Health. I love that it teaches you these new exercises with videos and that it does change things over time. It's a great way to increase your fitness level at an appropriate speed. Personalized training of this quality is expensive, but Fitbod is just $12.99 a month or $79.99 a year. But you can get 25% off your membership by going to fitbod.me/connected. That's Fitbod, Fitbod, fitbod.me/connected for 25% off your membership. Our thanks to Fitbod for their support of the show and Relay FM. Okay, you've done a thing.
Yeah, man.
Um, in honor of Federico not being here, I reviewed headphones, and you have returned to the multi-pad lifestyle.
I've gone from an iPad mini to 2 iPad Pros.
What's going on?
I'm going to start off by saying I am in love with the OLED iPad Pro. Like, it's so good. It is. Like every now and then I feel like this happens. Like, we obviously love computers, but sometimes a specific device comes along and you're just like in love with it, right? I felt this way about the M2 MacBook Air. I felt this way about like the iPhone 12, I think, that was the first one that got the flat sides, I think, right?
Yeah.
Like, and it doesn't happen often, but it happens, right? And I actually felt like I felt this way about the iPad Mini when I first got the iPad, like the newest iPad Mini, and I feel this way about the 11-inch iPad Pro. For everything I want to use an iPad for, it's so good. Like, the screen is incredible. I love watching things on it. I love reading comics on it because like the colors are so good. It's so thin. It's so light, which makes it so easy to use. I am really enjoying the extra screen space for the things that I'm using it on. Like, it's actually come to be really good. I get real joy out of using it because of how comfortable it is to use. I have not had an iPad Pro for a really, really, really long time. Like, I have not used an iPad Pro before now for like nearly 4 years. Like, I stopped using my iPad Pro, stopped using the iPad, and then moved to the iPad Mini. Like, and I had an iPad Air, yeah, which was just like a testing device. Like, I used iPad OS on it or whatever. And I tried to find various uses. Like, I tried doing that thing that David does and having like a second screen under my Mac, but that didn't really last. Like, none of these things lasted. But the iPad Pro, like, I've not used with any like seriousness for a long time, like multiple years now, which is like the longest since it came out, right? I always was on the iPad Pro because I used to use an iPad Pro as a laptop essentially, right? That was like a big thing for me for a long time. And I think, one, I had forgotten how good that can be to use, like a big iPad. I use the Apple Pencil all the time for like just navigating. I'd never used Hover. Oh my God. Using the web with a Hover Apple Pencil is fantastic because it's like having a cursor, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can like hover over things and things show up. Like looking at charts in Memberful or whatever, right? I can use the Apple Pencil hover and it shows me the numbers on the charts and stuff like that. Like, it's great. And just like using a hover Apple Pencil to take notes and stuff is really nice because you see it shows where you're gonna. It actually shows a dot where you're gonna be. So like, all that stuff's really good. And so because of this, I was like, oh, this is like really good for design stuff, like, which I had kind of forgotten about. Like, and I had been using my Mac and I'd been drawing things out on paper and taking pictures of them and sending them to to the designer we use at Cortex brand, which is fine and it works, but it's not ideal always. Like, sometimes it's really nice to be able to draw a square and the computer make it exactly square for me, make all my lines straight and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So then I was finding, like, over the last few weeks that I've been, because I'm in like a heavy design period right now, and on a couple of multiple new products that are in different stages of development. And so I've been bringing my iPad to and from the studio every day because I like using it at home. Like, my iPad is now becoming the device. It's replaced my iPad mini as like, it's the device I use most at home, like more than my iPhone.
Okay.
And so I was taking it backwards and forwards, which was fine. But I didn't really like needing to do that because now it's 2 computers that I'm taking backwards and forwards in my backpack every day. So my MacBook Air and an iPad. And then also, it's like the 11-inch is great, but you know what's better than 11? 13 for like size for designing stuff. Especially because if I want to try and make things that are true to life, like all of our product, like the Sidekick notepad is bigger than the 11, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's closer in size to the 13. So like, if I want to try and get things that still not 1-to-1 scale, but close enough.
What apps are you using for this sort of work?
It's a combination of Apple Notes. I use a lot because I just like Apple's drawing tools
Yeah, they're good.
primarily.
Mm-hmm.
I've tried out GoodNotes a little bit, but I still just prefer Apple's drawing tools. It is Apple that I'm using most, actually, to just do the drawings, and then I'll take those drawings and put them into other places like Notion, send them in Slack and stuff like that. Obviously I've used Procreate a little bit, and I have Freeform on my iPad home screen, which I feel like will be good to try out for something like a design project, like to make some mood boards and stuff. I've yet to use that yet, but it's what I want to use.
Its drawing tools are all the same as Apple Notes with some additional goodies.
Oh, that's very good. I would love recommendations, by the way, if people could write in with recommendations if you have like different tools, different apps that you like for this kind of work. So basically, Cortex brand bought a 13-inch iPad Pro that now is here at the studio and lives here at the studio. And I've set it up as fresh, which is nice. It's like all this has on it is stuff for this work.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also come at like a perfect time because I've made all of the changes to my studio that I wanted to make. So I've now like rearranged stuff. So my recording setup is different, and I have the Kallax behind me, which has got stuff for video, which also means I brought in a standing height table, which I'm using for design. And like I have like this table which is covered in the stuff that I'm working on, which is great. And it's a very tactile table, right? I have like a cutting mat, and I'm cutting things of paper, and I've got rulers and products, and I'm picking them up, putting them down, picking them up, putting them down. And the iPad fits so nicely in that mode of work for me because it's a computer which is substantial, and I'm picking it up, doing something with it, putting it down, picking it up, taking a picture. Like it feels very natural in that kind of working environment for me. So it stays here. No keyboards. I am personally not an iPad keyboard believer, because it's just not whatever I want. It like doubles the weight of the iPad. Yeah. It's harder to put it into the like arrangements that I want for watching things. Like for me, I just don't want it because it's not the type of work that I'm doing. And so, yeah, I'm trying to use this 13-inch iPad Pro. It's like a very focused computer. Like, yesterday, I had someone send me a message. I needed to, and it was for relay stuff. I signed into Relay Slack there, and it meant I had to go and use Google Sheets, and I didn't have Google Sheets on that iPad. So I thought about downloading it, and I was like, no. And I got up and I walked to my other desk and I opened Google Sheets on my Mac and did it there. It's like I'm trying to keep this as much as it can be like it is for the work that is done on this table. And like similarly, like tomorrow I'm going to a meeting with one of our manufacturers, and I'm going to take that iPad with me because it's got all of the stuff on it in the way that makes sense to me for that work. And so I'm just going to put it in my bag and I'll take it, go to the meeting, come back here tomorrow. So like I'm trying to make it not just a device that is for one location, but a device that is for one type of work. And I feel like the iPad Pro is like the best tool for that work. In the same way that like I am talking to you right now on a Mac that I only use for audio production. So this Mac is set up slightly differently to the MacBook Air that I use. Like yeah. I very much like devices that have purpose. And so I'm really happy with this. It's wild for me to return to the multi-pad lifestyle.
It is.
I'm happy about the fact that looking at the way that the iPad Pro has been over the last few years, that I can have both of these things and not need to replace them for like 4 years or longer. Because if you're thinking about the last meaningful change to the iPad Pro actually happened in like 2018.
Yeah.
And I feel like I could hold these iPads for as long, but I'm loving it. Like these devices are amazing, and then having them, both of these things, for the purposes that they are, like one is more entertainment focused and then one is more design work focused. It's been great for me.
In the Discord for members, Emma suggests you check out Concepts. So
I definitely will.
They have scale and measurement tools.
I think they sponsor Mac Stories.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
You have become.
So I've seen a bit before.
You've become Apple's ideal customer now. You just have like a bunch of Apple products floating around, and you just move in between them. If you're using continuity, boy, they would just love you.
I guess I probably do, right?
Yeah,
I
but,
mean,
like, "Oh, I have this up in Notes on my iPad," and I come over to the Mac, and it's there in the dock, and, uh,
that sounds nice though.
you're
But
living
like,
the
look,
life.
I think that this is a thing that Apple does and they do really well. Like that you can use multiple devices and use them really well together. I actually think that they design their products to work that way in a way that maybe other people don't.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Well, congratulations on the corporate purchase.
I have one last thing I want to talk to you about before we go.
Okay.
I know you don't want to do it, so I'm making you do it. We're not going to talk about AI and Apple Intelligence. I want to talk about talking about it.
Perfect.
And I feel like the passionate ones are a good audience to have this conversation in front of. So, like, I'm talking a lot about AI, right?
Mhm.
And like this week, we did a big episode of Upgrade where we're essentially just reading feedback and talking about it,
It was very
which was
good.
the thing that I asked for. Thank you. And then I also published Cortex, and like the YouTube comments are just like popping off. And so I feel like right now I'm in this like fog of opinions around AI. And I'm also like surrounded by people who have various feelings about it all, right? Like
Mhm.
we spoke about it a little bit last week, but Federico and John at Mac Stories are like, they're really pushing hard against large language model training
They are.
for creative work. I feel like I have some friends, and I think I'm going to put you in this camp, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, who are like mostly apathetic to the features,
Yeah, I think that's broadly okay to say.
right? That like I'm not talking about your feelings about it, but just like the features themselves, you're kind of just like whatever. And like Jason is very interested about a lot of the features, and I feel like I kind of sit somewhere in the middle of a lot of these things. And everybody has their own middles, and like I'm not trying to put anyone in boxes, but just like at least for the things that people are talking about. And what I am noticing is people have very strong opinions on this stuff, and it's in every direction. Like I think people hear me say that, and they're like, "Yeah, everyone." Like I have a very strong opinion about this, and everybody else has my strong opinion about this. And listener, let me tell you, that's not the case, right? Like there are strong opinions in all sides, and there are strong opinions about other people's strong opinions. Like I have people writing into me right now or leaving comments who like can't believe, and they're like so outraged at the fact that anyone might not like this stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So like people are angry. And then I'm also getting similar comments from people who are like, can't believe that anybody would like it. Right. So it's,
Mhm.
people have feelings about feelings. And I feel like up until now, with the shows that we make, we have been able to kind of look at it, talk about it, make observations about AI. But the fact that Apple wasn't in this space, it was just like, oh, there's this thing, we move on. But now Apple is in this camp and they're in it big time, right?
Mhm.
So I guess we have to start making choices and drawing lines. Like, do we use the features? Like, how much do we use them? What do we use them for? Do we review these features? Do we talk about the features? If we like them, do we hype them up and say they're really good? And then I have a bunch of other questions, which are, do we lose audience for this? Do we gain audience for this? Do people care either way? Do we get tired of feedback? Does the type of feedback that we get change? Does our relevancy as content creators change as a result of how we approach these subjects? All of this is what I'm referring to in my mind right now as like the AI fog, that like there are all these questions and opinions out there, and I don't know what to do about it, but I feel like we have like 3 months to work it out. Maybe a little bit longer, actually.
Mhm.
Maybe Apple's going to be gracious to us and give us a year. But like, what is your initial feeling about this idea, at least, this nebulous thing that I'm talking around.
No, I think it's definitely a thing. And that's what I was getting at a little bit last time. And I was like, it's okay that we can have conflicting, complicated opinions, and we just all need some some grace with each other. Because look, having opinion about anything in technology that's cranked to 11 historically doesn't age well. I think we've all who do this for a living have learned that our minds will change on things as things change. And having an absolute stance on anything, with few exceptions, generally that's not a long-term play that works out.
What I really enjoyed in hearing you say that was how you realized you were making an absolute stance, and then
No,
realized
no.
that the internet, like, this is what it's like sometimes to create content.
It
that,
is.
Like,
It is.
if
And
you
like,
make any kind of statement, you have to qualify it, and like
you do,
at the moment,
which is ridiculous sometimes. I think everyone should just take a breath. First of all, be like, this stuff is not going to kill us all. It's fine. But people do have strong feelings about it, and I don't know how to approach that on the shows. Like, I think there's a path where we talk about the features and what they can do, and like, hey, we've used them and we can talk about them. But even that in this case feels like a landmine, and I wish that it didn't. Like, my biggest wish is that people would just calm down, because everyone's just amped up all the time now, and that's not good for anybody.
everyone will calm down. I guarantee you that. In a year,
I
this
think
isn't
so.
going to feel like it. Because you think about what it was like a year ago, it was worse than this. But it was just in different areas. Like, the more people use these features, the more people are going to start calming down. And there will be some people that won't, but like, that's just with any technology change.
Mm-hmm.
And you said a minute ago about like making like statements in an age. I understand what you mean by that, but like, I know who I am, and I make a lot of really strong statements about everything all the time.
Sure.
But I don't care about that, because I genuinely feel like if you can't accept that somebody might change their mind on something, that I can't help you, that like, I can feel very strongly about something today and feel differently about it now. Like, you can go back and listen to me talk about generative AI from like October and November of 2021. Like, we did that double header of Cortex, right?
Yeah, and it was kind of gloomy from what I remember.
Oh, it was horrible. Like, we were just like, I think one of the episodes is called something like AI is like making us into marionette puppets and will rule the world, which is something Gray said, something along those lines. And my opinion has definitely softened. My opinion has softened because I use the tools, right? And like, me of then was thought that I would never use them, but I use them because I see benefit in them. And like, I know that I'm going to use, and I look forward to using, some of the tools in Apple Intelligence, because some of the features that they have shown off, I'm very intrigued about.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I know that but like, I'm able to draw my own personal line where I've been very clear on this. I think the image generation stuff is terrible, and they should, image playgrounds specifically, and that they should not do it. They should not ship it. So
what you're describing there is nuance. And that's
correct.
That's what gets lost in YouTube comments and angry emails and pieces of feedback that are too heated. And how do we? I mean, that is the question, right? Is how do we have nuance in these conversations when some people think that there is no room for nuance? And like that, my friend, is a question much bigger than AI. That is. And okay, this is whatever. That's Twitter's fault. That is short form social media's fault.
It's social media's fault. Yeah.
And look, we used it as long as anybody else, and we have to, I think, or we should, I think, break free of that some. Because my personal stance is basically in line with yours. Like, I think the tech stuff is good and interesting. And yes, some people will use it too much and, send an email with AI to their boss and get fired because it has something inappropriate in it. And, so be it. I think for Apple, the image generation is something they shouldn't have done. I think that's a can of worms they should not have opened. But they did, and they'll have to deal with the consequences of that when it turns someone's grandmother into a Nazi or whatever. And I know Apple would say, "Oh, it can't," but like I'm telling you, whenever this stuff rolls out, there's going to be blog posts and YouTube videos of people. I got it to do this thing, and then Apple's
No,
going to have to apologize.
I know what their problem's going to be. I think I said this on Cortex. Like I have established their issue, like because they have done, I'm sure, a very good job of their guardrails to make that stuff not happen because they've made their system so simple, right? That you can only do people you know, like you can only like make people you know, and they're under these like 4 styles. Da, da, da.
Yeah,
The issue they're going to run into is because they're recreating people, they're going to get facial features wrong.
yeah.
They're going to get skin tone wrong, and that will be offensive. That's going to be their problem. That like they will give somebody's face won't look like their face, and they'll draw it in such a way that it is offensive. Like I guarantee you right now, you can mark this today. That's the problem they're going to have, because I genuinely don't think that they can stop that from happening. Because it's just chance. You're rolling the dice every single time, right? That you generate one of these images. And like Kate has put it so succinctly, I predict that Apple Intelligence is a racist headline. Like that's what it's going to be.
Yep.
That like you're going to have somebody with dark skin, and it's going to do their skin tone too light, or something like that, right? And that's going to be in my opinion, that's going to be their issue, because it's like, oh, I don't know what, right? But it adds a lighting effect or something and makes somebody look strange compared to how they look in their photos or something like that. That's what I predict is going to be the issue.
Because it's out of the user's control, right? If you want to change the way you look in an emoji, that's up to you. But with Apple Intelligence, it's up to the computer.
And similarly, as soon as you start using a generative AI large language model, it's outside of your control too. Like we've seen this happen. There has not been a image generation model that has not done something like this. Because even sometimes, as Google so easily found out, the guardrails can be the problem.
Yeah.
Right?
Boy,
that like was it like it wouldn't make white monarchy from Britain?
Yeah.
It's like, let me tell you something. If there's one thing the British monarchy has been, is white.
Yeah,
right?
well,
like that.
It did the same thing with Nazis, right? It made
Black Nazis, I think.
A very diverse set. I was like, whoa, okay, let's not go down that road. Yeah, and so there are real problems with AI and generative AI in particular. There will be problems with Apple's implementation, just like everybody else's, despite Apple's best efforts, despite everyone's best efforts, right? And very few people are going out like, I'm set out to make a racist AI. No, that's just what happens. Like, ask, what was it, Microsoft Tay or whatever it was, like the first one. These things.
Whoa, that's a deep cut.
Remember that?
Wow, yeah, man, that was a long time ago.
It was probably like 2018. It probably wasn't even that long ago. But
wow.
it is inherent to these technologies that bad things can happen, and we have to be honest about that, and we have to be honest when it happens to talk about it truthfully, and at the end of the day, like there are going to be people upset no matter what we do. If we don't talk about it, or if we block crawlers from reading our websites, or if we only talk about it and we embrace and these LLMs and cut deals for our content, no matter where we end up on those various spectrums, there will be people upset. And so I guess the way to do it is just to be as honest and like open with where we think. Like the three of us on the show don't all agree on this, right? Like
we have very, like, I think we have quite different opinions now.
Like I am not doing on 512 Pixels or Relay FM what they're doing on Mac Stories about the crawling, because it just doesn't. It doesn't work me up the way that it works them up, and that's totally fine.
I think we could. I'll speak for both of us. We have absolute empathy and sympathy for the situation that John and Federico are upset about. Like I think what Apple, and I think it, they can speak for it, but it was the Applebot thing that seemed to like spark this in them.
Yes.
And I understand why, because the way Apple did this was so underhanded.
It was bad.
It was just bad, like ethically bad, to be like, we did this, you can opt out, but it's too late. And it's like, well, then don't even. The problem is giving me the opt out in that scenario. Yeah. It's like just like kind of like a slap in the face. Like I think that, to me at least, that feels like the issue. I know it was what upset me. It wasn't even so much that they did it; is that they knew that they had to offer an opt out because that's the right thing to do, but they did it afterwards.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm convinced that Apple executives know they did wrong, and like they're trying to like sweep it under the rug, because this is ethically like not even a gray area, like in my opinion.
No, they blew it.
They just took advantage of everybody.
Yeah.
And like
yeah, and I understand their response to that. It's just not my response to it. Even though I think they did it poorly, but like I'm not going out of my way to keep 512 out of those training models, because that just doesn't push my buttons the way it does theirs. And so like we can be in agreement that we can disagree on things. Again, nuance.
Yeah. It's like, I know that of everybody that I work with, I'm the most upset about image playgrounds. Like, I am so upset about it. And I feel like that other people that I work with are just like, yeah, I mean, like, what does Jason call it? Fun on your phone? Like, which I like that. It's like, it's fun on your phone. And like, he can say that's what Apple's going for, but I just think it's a terrible thing. But like, I think that this is the key to this next chapter that we're all moving into, is that like, I don't expect that if we're going to talk about Apple Intelligence that Federico's going to like quit the show. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, because I mean, again, I feel like I'm speaking a lot for him. I don't really know his position and stuff right now. I don't know what he's going to do. I hope that he reviews these features. I hope that he uses them and likes them, honestly. But I don't know where he's going to be about that in September. But I think that's the key, right? I think the key is that we should all be entering into this phase of like, we have these opinions right now, and these opinions aren't necessarily going to be the same as yesterday's or tomorrow's, because the technology isn't. The technology of yesterday is not the same as technology as tomorrow.
That's right.
And I think that is why we're in this scenario, is that in the age of social media and even podcasting, like, we have not gone through something like this. Like, the AI moment that we're in right now is unlike anything since, I guess, the smartphone. Of like how much it's going to change. And so I think to try and apply our thinking models of the last 10, 15 years on this is a fool's errand. So that's kind of all I want to get at. I feel like I just need to keep talking this stuff out, and I want to be talking it out in front of our audiences. Like, I think people need to understand that we don't have answers, and that I don't think everybody should have answers. We should just be asking questions. I'm just asking the questions,
Yeah, I think that's fair, and knowing that we're going to do so in the in a best faith kind of way, right?
Yeah.
It's the folks who come down 100% either way that I feel like are missing it. And I don't think this is just too broad, but also too important to do that, to not pick it apart and look at it piece by piece and not just at the 10,000 foot view.
Yeah.
Well, I think that does it. If you want to tell us how wrong we are, there's a bunch of ways to do it. You can find us all on Threads as Viticci, Viticci. Myke is iMyke, IMYKE, and I am ISMH86. You can also search for us on Mastodon using those same handles. Myke is, of course, the host of a bunch of other shows here on Relay FM. We mentioned Cortex and Upgrade, and go check out his work over at Cortex Brand. Federico is the editor-in-chief of MacStories.net. They're doing lots of great work over there. A growing team. I met a bunch of the new Mac Stories people at WWDC, which was awesome. So they are just rock and rolling over there. You can find my writing at 512pixels.net or in your favorite LLM of choice, I guess.
I just searched through it. It's in there somewhere.
The search for Performance, you'll find me. You can become a member and get Connected Pro, which is the longer ad-free version of the show that we do each and every week. Connected Pro members also get access to the Relay members Discord and newsletters, some extra members only podcasts we do each month. It's a great fun. It's a great value. Go check that out. There's a link in the show notes. Myke, until next time, say goodbye.
Cheerio.
Bye, y'all.